Well, good day to you. Today we're going to be reading Genesis chapters 13 and 14 and learning more about the life of this gentleman we call Abram, or later to be known as Abraham in our Old Testament and even our New Testaments. So today we're going to read a little bit about his relationship with his nephew, Lot. So let's read Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and in gold. Those things are still valuable today, aren't they? Livestock, silver, and gold. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able Seems like that's happening every day. I'm sorry about that. Let's pick it up again at verse 6. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain, and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. Boy, we heard that just before the flood, didn't we, when we learned about Noah? The people were sinning greatly, and they're back at it again. Oh, thank goodness for the Lord's patience. But how disappointed he must be in us who are created in his image, that we so readily turn back to sin. Verse 14, the Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are, to the north and the south and the east and the west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever." It's a long time. "I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram went to live near the great tree of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. If this is your first time through Genesis, some things really aren't standing out to you because you haven't read through it before. But if you've read through Genesis before, there's very unique things happening here in chapter 13. You hear about Abram and Lot parting ways, Lot making his camp near the city of Sodom, and Abram here is going to pitch his tents near Mamre. Mamre becomes very significant in the life of Moses later on. But anyways, we're in Genesis chapter 14, verse 1. At this time, the Amraphel was king of Shinar, Iraq king of Elazar, Gedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim. Whew, that was a mouthful. These kings went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Birsha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shimber king of Zaboyim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim. that is the Dead Sea Valley. For 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer, and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephathites in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shavin Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, near the desert. Then they turned back and went to En Misfat, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites, who were living in Hazaron Tamor. I didn't know we were going to have such a list of names here. My goodness. Challenging my pronunciation. Verse 8. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboian, the king of Bela, that is Zor, marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amphrael, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot, and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. A man who had escaped came and reported this to Abram, the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre and Amorite. The Amorite, let's read that again. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre, the Amorite, a brother of Ishcal and Aner, all of whom are allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and all the other people. Abram must be quite a warrior. Went just right in there, marched in there, got Lot back, Lot's family, all of his animals, his possessions. Verse 17. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer, and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram. Now, if you've been following my readings for the last few months, you know that we also read through the book of Hebrews. And in Hebrews, this man was mentioned, this man Melchizedek. And this is where that story came from, in Genesis chapter 14. So let's read more about Melchizedek. Verse 18. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, With raised hand, I have sworn an oath to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me to Aner, Ishcal, and Mamre. Let them have their share. All right. Well, there you have it. Probably learn a little bit more about Melchizedek as we continue to read the book of Genesis, but we're making our way through this great book of the Bible, the first book in the Old Testament, and lots to learn about God and his people, and even about you and me as we read through this great book of Genesis. Thank you for being with me today. Have a great day, and God's blessings be on you.